Is there a point at which you don't respond in social?
I guess in my world, most cases is you have to engage. You have to address, acknowledge, but you don't have to lose who you are or what you intend to do.
Right.
You know, you don't have to become something else, or you don't have to become hip. You know, you just have to say what you're about, what you're trying to achieve.
We run into the same issues where organizations have issues with employees, and we've had a number of companies that we've dealt with who've started sites that were, blanksucks.com. And what happens is that the traditional media picks that up.
Right.
And they look for cues and they start writing stories about that. And then if you don't engage, both from a media standpoint but also on the site, you really start becoming a target. And what we've always counseled is you have to go into those sites and you have to look at what people are saying. 99% of the time, there are real issues that they're trying to talk to the company about, but they felt that for whatever reason, the internal channels were closed and they couldn't address them, so they went online and they started, www.blanksucks.com sites. And what we found is when you go in there and you start listening to the issues, you bring those issues back into the organization and you begin to address them and tackle them. Then you go back online and say, hey, we heard you about this,
Right.
and we're dealing with it. Can you see so-and-so? In almost every case, those sites dissipate because over time, people, they'll go on to something else because they feel that they're being
They feel you're
respected.
being heard. David, I wanted to get your thought on that. Is there a policy or approach with Starwood about responding when you should and when you shouldn't?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a similar challenge to Time Warner in that, if you choose to enter into social media as an engagement channel, you're creating a two-way dialogue, and it's a relationship you basically have to foster. And we've got 1,000 properties worldwide. We put 184,000 people on our beds every night, and there's bound to be commentary every single day. And it took us a while to get to a place where we felt comfortable engaging and having that honest, transparent dialogue publicly. And I think over time we've been able to develop policies in terms of, if it's a flamboyant display of animosity towards a brand, there's a one way to handle that. But I think in particular we've gotten to a place where we look at every engagement, good or bad, as an opportunity to convert, either that customer into a repeat customer and make things right, or use as an opportunity, frankly, to look at the sphere of people that they influence in social media and to get some onward play out of it.
The biggest thing is walking into an organization and saying, by the way, your employees are talking about you, and they say, no, they're not. And they say, yes, they are. And you show them all these tweets, and you show them Facebook,
Right.
and it's like, oh my God, when did they do that? Well, they're doing it.
Right.
I mean, it's because most of the leaders don't do that. Most of the managers don't do that. But the people are out there doing it. We're all doing it. That's my point about understanding your workforce. So once you can show people that this is actually the real world right now, then I think the influencers, if you will, come to bear.
Regardless of what we ask you to do as IBM and as IBMers, right? Regardless of our policies, right? Other people are going to integrate your different identities, right? And either they do integrate and you therefore have integrity, or they don't and you don't.
Right.
Right. And I kind of feel like we ought to be counseling our employees on that as well, because these media are so fast and so emerging, and we're all learning so quickly, right, that we should counsel our employees on that fact. Regardless of what we ask you to do, we may not ask you to go and blog for IBM. That's fine if you don't want to do that, right? But you need to be aware that your manager, right, can look at you 360. And if you're not looking at yourself 360, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
David, how do you strike that balance with employees within Starwood?
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't discourage employees from having that kind of work-life overlap that I think naturally exists now with social media. I think the important thing is to remind employees that if they are going to reference where they work, they're going to reference their daily lives on the work side, not the life side. There's some accountability that goes with that.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about, using social media inside the company in order to get work done. How much of that actually happens, how effective it is, and what kinds of technologies have been most effective at doing it.
So this is a perfect segue to Ben. I was going to talk to Ben about this. You've had, in listening to IBM at the Social Media Summit and other conversations, just tremendous results in how you bring your employee base together on a number of fronts. One is expediting the search for talent or knowledge when somebody needs that knowledge within IBM, product development, cost reduction, all kinds of fronts. So can you talk about some of the things that you're doing?
One of the advantages of 407,000 employees in 190 countries is it's a terrific lab for social computing innovation. We're a technology company as well, so we have a lot of engineering talent who want to develop, and IBM has a very rich history in this. I guess 10, 12 years now of applying social computing internally to make the enterprise more efficient, more effective, right? So just to give you some sense of the scale of this. We have a wiki tool internally that has 200,000 registered users. They produce about 1 million web pages between them a year, right? Which is in and of itself a substantial website, right? Employees now dwarf professional communicators internally at IBM. These technologies, I think, actually, as President Obama demonstrated to us in 2008, are incredibly powerful for mobilizing people around a direction, around a change, right? Facebook Causes, is, I think now the most used application on Facebook, right? This is a mobilizing technology, right, to align people to change and to take action. So that's what jams are. They're a structured online fora, right? We have structured conversation. We've had millions of people participate in these things at IBM. We've done them for, NATO, the future of NATO, right? Or we did them for the US auto supplier industry. So we organized 150 companies, right, together to create a single strategy for that industry. How else are you going to do that? Kind of tough, right?